Hello, my third graders. Today we are going to be looking at Module 5, Week 3, Day 13, and we are going to be focusing on sequence. So we're looking at the sequence of events. So our goal for today is I can analyze the use of text structure to understand the text. I can identify transition words that show sequence or time order. So how will I be successful today? I will identify the sequence words in the text. I will use the sequence words to understand the order of events in the text. So today is all about understanding the events and the order that they occur. All right, so we are looking at text structure, and when we are talking about text structure, it is the way that the author puts his writing together. So the way that it's built, and part of the text structure is supporting the purpose of the author. In those texts that we read today and yesterday, the baseball boys is giving us information about something that has really happened, and so the author wants to share that information in a clear way, so he's going to be using sequence. In a sequence text structure, the author presents the events in the order that they happened. Authors are going to use transition words to show time order to lead you from one event to the next. So some transition words that we might see are first, next, before, then, last, after. There's a ton of different ways that we can show sequence. Some other transition words are on this list. Eventually, at last, meanwhile, the next day, all of a sudden, in the end, over time. These are some great words that show transition. However, these are not the only words that show a sequence. Phrases like in the morning, during the winter months, when he was 6 years old, also let the reader know a time frame of events in a story. So we're going to look for phrases that move the story along in a timely manner. We are going to reread this page. It's a short page, and on this we're going to be looking for those sequence words that tell us the structure or the time order of these events. When winter's chill melts into spring, back doors swing open and slap shut as kids, just home from school, run outside, mitts, bats, and balls in hand. In one New Jersey town near the ocean, back in the 1920s and 30s, you could hear the same door slam over and over. 3 brothers raced out. Out went 3 more, and still more. So right from the beginning, the author is giving us some clue words to help us to understand when the story is taking place. The first thing that I notice is when winter's chill melts into spring. So this one is showing us that winter is now over and it's spring. This helps me to understand what season it is. We know that winter is followed by spring. So the boys are going outside during the spring to play baseball. I also see the years, 1920s and 1930s. This helps me to know that this was set in the past, well before you were born or I was born. So this is set in the past. Something else that helps me to know time order, these pictures really can help me to show time order because first 3 brothers raced out, then out went 3 more, and still more. This illustration shows the boys coming out in a specific order. They're showing us that it wasn't all at once, that they came out in groups of 3 at different times. So that helps me to understand some sequence. All right, on page 422, we want to reread this page, And we're looking to find the phrases that help us to understand the timing of this part of the story. So, every spring, Freddie said, "You would take your glove out, go in the yard, and play." Neighbors couldn't recall a time when there weren't a Sarah boys outside tossing the ball, hitting it hard, racing around, with the young ones watching, wishing they were old enough to play. Their high school team had an Sarah on it for 22 years in a row. In 1938, the brothers ranged in age from 7 to 32. The oldest 9 formed their own semi-pro team and competed against other New Jersey teams. The father coached them and never missed a game. Their uniforms all said the same thing, a Sarah's. So, what were some of the phrases that helped you to understand the timing of this one? A, neighbors couldn't recall a time. B, every spring. C, wishing they were old enough to play. D, in 1938. Or E, their father coached them. You should have said B and D. Both of these show us some time. Every spring tells me when the boys would start playing every year. And 1938 tells me when they made their own semi-pro team. So that's going to be some important information. We know in 1938, that's when they made their own team and started competing against other teams. All right, looking at the next one, thinking about what major events happened on this page. How do you know that the events happened after the brothers formed the semi-pro baseball team? In the 1940s, something pulled the brothers' attention away from baseball. American soldiers were fighting in the Second World War across the Atlantic, the same huge ocean Poser had hit baseballs into. Battles were raging and soldiers were dying, but the brothers knew it was important to fight for their country. The team disbanded as 6 Sarah brothers joined the service. Poser was the first to go. He, Charlie, Eddie, and Bobby all served in the Army. After Billy joined the Marines, Freddie did too. So what were the major events that happened on this page, and how do we know that this happened after they formed the team? So you should have said in the 1940s, the brothers all started going to war, and it says in here that the team disbanded or they no longer work together. So we know that this team was no longer happening in the 1940s. It doesn't give me a specific year because I'm sure the brothers all joined at different times. So maybe Poser joined in 1940 and then Charlie joined in 1941. So we don't know the exact years, but we do know that it was after they made the baseball team. All right, so we're going to reread page 430. When the war finally ended, everyone was so happy. Eddie, out in California with the Army, was excited that he went up to women he didn't even know and kissed them. Many American soldiers died in World War II, but the Asaras were very lucky. One by one, all 6 brothers returned from their time in the service. Mama Asara cried each time a boy walked into the door. So, which phrase helps us to understand the timing of this part of the story? You should have said when the war finally ended. Now we know that the war is over and the boys are home. This helps me follow and understand the story. All right, for your you do, you are going to reread page 431, and you're going to be looking for the words or phrases that show that the text structure is sequence. You're going to circle all that apply, so you may circle more than one. And then you're also going to answer the question in the white box. How does knowing the text structure help readers focus on what is happening in the text? After you finish that, you will have something to do with prefix, and you will also be reading on Mayan or Epic.